Okay, it's 8:30.
Okay, Bhante, we shall begin.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Bhante. Welcome to MSPS Dhamma Sharing Online. This weekly meditation session is jointly organized by Mahasatipatthana Buddhist Society Klang, Mudita Buddhist Society Klang, Sambodhi Satya Alam, and supported by Theravada Buddhist Council of Malaysia. Since there's new participant, we'll go through this quickly. Please display your name for easy identification. Make sure your audio is muted at all times. If you wish to ask a question, you may type your question at the chat box or raise hand, unmute and talk. Do turn off your microphone after finish asking. One person to speak at a time. During guided meditation, please on your video so Bhante can see your progress and the meeting room will be locked. Okay. MSPS is fortunate to have with us Bhante Adhibalo, popularly known as Phra Goh. Bhante was born on July 14, 1985. Bhante had his bhikkhu ordination into the Thai tradition of Thai Dhamma Youth Sect at Santi Forest Monastery in Johor, Malaysia in 2008. Bhante is currently the Vice President of Wat Palelai, Singapore. Today's talk is the continuation of KAMMA. Next week, we'll be sharing on the dependent origination. After this, Bhante will be leading the homage to the Buddha and the taking of 5 precepts for Buddhists. Now let us compose our mind, put our palms together and welcome Bhante.
Okay, thank you, Terence, for the introduction. So now we'll start the homage. Yeah. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. And the 3 refuges, Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. And the 5 precepts. Pāṇātipada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kāmesu micchācāra veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musāvāda veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Suramiraya majjapamadatthāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to the, I think this is the 5th episode on karma, yeah? Spelled with the double N, Pali, Romanized Pali, yeah? And yeah, so a short or quick recap for those who just joined the session. So we talked about various kinds of karma, right? The good, the bad, and the neutral, and the circular ones and the supramundane ones. So the mundane ones is the kind of good karmas and bad karmas that lead us to success or failures in life. And the supramundane is talking about spiritual, how to detach and how to free yourself emotionally and mentally. Okay, next. Yeah, so we covered about circular successes, right? How to be rich or poor, long life, short life, etc. Next. So if you want to be have this longevity, then you should avoid killing. Next. And same for health. If you don't want to be sick, then avoid this harming of others. And next, and beauty, same thing. Have patience. Don't display anger so easily. Next. And influence. You want to be influential, then you have to talk about respect, respecting others, not to be envious. And next one, wealth. If a person does charity and donation and helping in whatever ways, then this will come back, right, as wealth. Okay, next. And status, the same thing, veneration and respect, right? Next. And wisdom, if a person wants to be wise, ask questions, right? This is the, all right, okay, next. Okay, so we talk about commentarial. These are from the Buddhist commentaries on the various functions of karma. So we just roughly talked about the reproductive, supportive, obstructive, and destructive karma. So again, when we talk about the sutta definition, there's a bit of contradiction. But if you want to take this as a concept to meditate upon, no problem. Yeah, but karma seems we can't destroy them. Yeah, in the suttas we can only dilute the karmas. Okay, next. Okay, so we talk about heavy karmas, right? There's good and bad. The ones in red are the bad deeds, and the ones in green are the good deeds. So these are the weighty karmas, right? And the talk about proximate karma, death proximate karma right before death. So this will take precedence. So some people might think, wait for the last moment. Then you want to talk about doing good at the last moment, which may not necessarily work. There are other factors at play. There are this weighty karma and also habitual karmas at play, right? That might affect the last moment. Okay, then the last one, unspecified karma, which Dean has typed in last week as ahosika karma, yeah? These defunct or unspecified kinds of karma. Next. Same immediate, subsequent, indefinite. So immediate is one that takes precedence in this life, subsequent next life. Indefinite, you carry on, right? The effects will keep ripening all the way until the person gets liberated. And the last one again, defunct karma, karmas which are unaccounted for. Okay, next. Okay, so we are talking about different good and bad deeds. Okay, so interestingly, I've covered their bad deeds and good deeds, but I didn't go through what are the good deeds and what are the bad deeds, right? So I'll go through them today. Okay, next. So I talk about rebirth, right? A very short summary. What kind of deeds born in the different realms. Okay, next. And we talked about different case studies. Some people do bad, they born bad in a bad realm. Some of them do bad and born in a good realm. So what's the cause? Because sometimes there's this death proximate karma. Similarly, for good actions, some of them get reborn in a good realm. And another one, yeah, some people do good but get reborn in a bad realm, right? So where's the justice? So the Buddha explained there's this thing called death proximate karma. At the moment of death, sometimes the thoughts are so unreliable. Even we did an experiment, the thoughts, if we just relax, what kind of thoughts pop up in our mind, right? They can be good or bad. So we can't control. No? Sometimes a bad thought just appear, and that's it. So imagine the moment of death. No, the worst case scenario, no, maybe accident, or even in a hospital when maybe the hospital staff are trying to resuscitate you and bring you back to life. The process can be painful. They do the chest compressions, or they do AED, try to shock you back to life and whatever not. So all these things can create unpleasant thoughts. All right, next. So now we talk about transcendental, which we covered last week. Transcendental karmas, which is the safer bet, right? The safer option. We don't rely on circular karmas, which there's no guarantee or good or bad. So we talk about something more worth investing, which is the Four Noble Truth karma, right? So there are old karmas, which are experiences from eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Anything that we experience and ripen, these are the old karmas. And anything we react, when we react to this stimuli, that is new karma. Can be through greed, hatred, or delusion when we react. So it can be of good or bad intention, right? So creating new karmas. And the cessation of karma, that means these karmas can be ceased, right? It's different from destroying karmas. It's more of transcending the karmas, right? Buddhist simile is talking about crossing the other shore, trying to abandon the old karmas and reach a new safe haven. And the last, the fourth noble truth, rather, is the path of practice leading to the cessation of karma, which I'm going to cover today, the Eightfold Path, right? Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, next. Right, so yeah, all these are old karmas, whatever we experience, new karmas, whatever we've done with our body, speech, and mind, and cessation of karma. And so we are going to cover this, the path leading to the cessation of karma. Very, very long lecture if you want me to talk about Eightfold Path. But since today's topic is on karma, so I'm just going to cover what are wholesome karmas and what are unwholesome karmas. Some people translate as skillful or unskillful actions, right? Skillful actions lead us to this safe haven, which is this cessation of karmas, and unskillful actions lead us to more continuous rebirth or suffering. So what are these wholesome or unwholesome actions? So traditionally, we said there are 10 meritorious and demeritorious actions. So what are the 10? Okay, so if we look at the Eightfold Path at the last paragraph, right view is the strategy, is understanding the Four Noble Truths, is to understand, we have that right view first to sort of find where is the target. Where is the target? Often when we are upset, right? We always blame something else. Somebody make me unhappy, or because I do not get what I wish. So we blame external conditions. But often or not, we seldom look inward. So if a person is more spiritually inclined, they want to find the source of this unhappiness or this dissatisfaction. They'll start to look inward, and they'll find it's the source of desire, source of greed, and we'll try to look for ways to resolve it. So the next one is this right resolve, or the more common translation will be right thought or right contemplation. So from here, there are three wholesome or skillful deeds, skillful karmas. Yeah. So what are the three? So the right resolve will be number one, non-greed. Number two, non-hatred. And number three, non-delusion. So these are the sort of greed, hatred, delusion are the poisons or the cause of suffering. Right? The second noble truth, desire, is defined as greed, hatred, delusion. So if a person has right thoughts, you're actually doing the opposite. You're having non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. So these are the three wholesome or skillful deeds, right? Skillful thoughts. And the opposite will be greed, hatred, delusion. So when there are 10 meritorious deeds, there are also 10 unmeritorious deeds. So I cover the first 3, right? And the next one will be right speech. So right speech will be 4, right? Earlier on, you chanted the precepts to try to avoid lying. So this is 1, abstain from lying. And there's another one, abstain from harsh speech. So if a person scold and maybe profanities, being harsh and cause agitation or whatever it is. So this is harsh speech. And the next one is idle, divisive speech. Divisive speech, right? So this third kind of speech. So if a person were to split up communities, right, break up communities, or if you go to one group and say one thing and go to another group and say another thing that cause communities to split apart. So this is, we call it divisive speech. And the last one is this idle chatter, any kind of gossip that doesn't lead you to anything beneficial, right? You can say anything under the sun and there's no end to it and we can't get anything done. So this is idle chatter. So right speech will be abstaining from these 4 things, right? So abstain from telling lies, harsh speech, divisive speech, and idle chatter, right? So demeritorious deeds will be doing all this, right? A person tell lies, uh, says harsh speech, right? It's like to scold and use profanities, whatever it is to hurt other people. And the divisive speech, right? Break up communities and idle chatter. Okay, and the last one, right action would be 3 as well. So it is also included in the precepts. Avoid this killing, right? And avoid stealing and avoid this sexual misconduct. So there are 3, right? Interestingly, they never cover intoxication, part of our 5 precepts. So I'm not encouraging people to take alcohol and whatever. But in Buddhism, this alcoholism and abusing of drugs are considered a vice, right? So although it is not mentioned as a demeritorious kind of deed, right, it's mentioned in many other scriptures that it leads to breaking of the other precepts as well. So when a person is drunk and not sober, they will do lots of funny things, maybe consciously or unconsciously, that may harm others as a result, right? So this is the 10 meritorious and demeritorious deed. So hopefully I don't need to explain so much because these are covered actually in our schools or even at home. Civics, moral education. What do you call it in Malaysia? In school, we have certain kind of moral education. Is there a name to it?
I think it's the
Same,
same.
moral educations.
Oh, same. Okay, all right. Because in Singapore, we have this, we break up into our mother tongue language. We call this Hao Gong Ming for the Chinese students. And for secondary school, then they change to English, to this civics, moral education. And this kind of stuff, teach us how to be a good person and so on. So, right. So if a person were to abide in these 10, so importantly, right, it starts from the mind. So if the person's intention is pure, so the rest are pure as well. So if a person were to constantly reflect on these 10, there's this interesting sutta called the Salayaka Sutta, the Brahmins of Sala, right? Some maybe Brahmins questioned the Buddha, asked him, how can a person be reborn in hell or the lower realms? Or how does a person reborn in heaven? So that's why the Buddha mentioned the 10 meritorious and demeritorious deeds. And interestingly, towards the end of the sutta, right, the Buddha mentioned if a person were to keep these 10 meritorious deeds very well and very consistently, they can wish upon death. They want to reborn in a well-to-do family as a human, no? And it's possible, it can be done. If they don't wish to be a human, they want to be a heavenly being, a deity, it can be done as well. So the Buddha mentioned the different realms of deities, and eventually the last verse, he mentioned, interestingly, a person can wish for her arahantship, full enlightenment, and it can be achieved as well. It is possible, right? So by practicing this, right, just keeping the 5 precepts, you are actually following the Noble Eightfold Path. So the 5 precepts are actually the root precepts. Root precepts. All right. Oh, now it's being recorded. Okay, all right. So without further ado, we are moving on to the next slide. Okay, so now we are going to talk about karma with regards to cultivation. So this is where we talk about the dilution of karma, right? Why karma can't be destroyed. And this is with regard to mental detachment. Yeah. So the Buddha mentioned if a person is not trained, right, emotionally and feelings and the body, they're not trained. What happens if a person does a trifling evil deed, right? That means a small, maybe pocket theft, or maybe break one of the 10 meritorious deeds, right? Maybe scold somebody, whatever it is. Done by what sort of individual takes him to hell or any of the lower realms. There is the case where a certain individual is undeveloped in contemplating the body, undeveloped in virtue, undeveloped in mind, undeveloped in discernment, which is wisdom, right? Restricted, small-hearted, dwelling with suffering. Right? So if a person is very self-centered, very narrow-minded, then it is possible, right? If a person does something small and their mind keep repeating, their options are limited to the sensual plane. Right? Now, a trifling evil deed done by what sort of individual is experienced in the here and now, and for the most part barely appears for a moment. Right? There is a case where a certain individual is developed in contemplating the body, developed in virtue, developed in mind, developed in discernment, unrestricted, large-hearted, dwelling with the immeasurable. Right? So if a person were to practice the 4 immeasurables, loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. So the mind is boundless. We wish all beings well and happy, and we maintain and develop them and train this mind for some time. And if some bad deed happen to occur due to a slip of mind, then the mind will be able to sort of absorb this negativity, and then it will appear, like as though it's negligible. Right. So, is there a slide further after this? If not, then okay, I'm going to give an
No more,
example.
Bante.
Yeah. So the Buddha gave an analogy. An analogy is like as though salt and water. Salt and water. So imagine the salt as being bad, right? Bad karmas, all the bad things you've done, and the water, plain water, pure drinking water, as though as good karma. It's just example. So imagine if you have one small teacup, one small cup of this plain water, and you put in a big spoonful of salt, and then you stir it. Right? Will that cup of salt water taste salty? Right? You definitely know there's some taste of salt, right? Depending on each person's level of tolerance, it will definitely taste salty. But imagine if a person, right, on the second case, if a person's good karma is a lot, right? They're well trained, has lots of this good karma, positive karma, is as though the mind is full of pure drinking water, right? He's giving an example like a whole river a whole river of clear drinking water. So imagine you put the same small spoonful of salt into that river and you stir it. You try whatever to make it even. And you try to taste part of the water. Will it taste salty? Most probably, the taste of salt wouldn't even register in your tongue. You can't even taste it because the water is so vast. So the dilution of the salt becomes down to I do not know how many parts per million. Right? So this is the second case. Right? So again, this is the spiritual aspect, mental kind of detachment. We cannot apply in the secular sense. Like in the first lesson, we talk about secular successes, right? Some people think, oh, by practicing this, I can overcome poverty, I can overcome illness, right? So they practice this and they still get sick or they still remain poor. No, it doesn't help you externally, right? When we talk about spiritual causes, it will have a spiritual effect. So mentally, a person, when they do good deeds, they practice generosity mentally, they become more contented. So this is the spiritual dimension. So similarly, if a person doesn't harm another person, mentally they feel more alive. They feel more humane or human, right? So this is the meaning of it. So hopefully I've I've covered the last 100 meters of the karma, and I open the ground for questions, right? Any questions?
Ante,
Yes.
karma cannot be, you're mentioning karma cannot be destroyed
Yeah.
unless you become the Buddha, right?
Yeah, we call it escaping from karma. Yeah, it's more something like an escape. So the karmas are left behind. So they are termed as the defunct karma. Yeah.
So if you attain Buddhahood, then karma will not come to effect.
After a person parinibbana, yeah.
Parinibbana.
Yeah.
Okay. Means even if you're arahant, karma will still take effect, right?
Yeah, the physical karmas. Mentally, they are free. Yeah.
Okay.
So like I think NG has mentioned before, some these arahants like this venerable Mahamoggallana gets beaten to death.
Yeah.
Right. Even though after he got enlightened, and also the our Buddha, right, our historical Buddha, after he got enlightened, he also suffers backache, sometimes have occasional illness. He passed away from food poisoning and so on. Yep.
Okay.
So physically, we cannot escape the law of samsara. There's birth, aging, sickness, and death. So this is still happening. Right. So the Buddhist way of solving suffering is the mental sort of escape, mental transcending, right, of these karmas.
And then there's a question from Facebook.
Yes.
Is COVID-19 due to our bad correction or group karma?
Okay, very good question, right? Physically, right, if you talk about external, the phenomenon where people face lockdown or lose their jobs or there are more higher rates of crime or suicide or whatever it is due to this COVID-19 situation. If you want to explain theoretically or metaphysically, then probably yes, past karmas, our entire human race or whatever it is, probably done something wrong. That's why we are facing this collective group karma physically, right? But mentally, it's up to individual mentally. Some people don't feel so affected. Some people, although they face poverty, they can sort of laugh it off. They can try to look at the grateful side of life, try to be, help others when they are in need or in poor, and they can find it nourishing. They can find valuable lessons as well. So different people will react differently. to this kind of situation. All right. So internally, it's a different world altogether. Okay, so there's a question from Dini typed out. So as the word Dhamma has several meanings even within Buddhism, can Bhante explain on the term Dhamma phenomenon relating to mental states or constructs that is cognized by the mind? Thank you, Bhante. Wow, okay. Yeah, Dhamma has many meanings, right? I'm not a Pali scholar, but Dhamma can be a term used to be living in harmony, living in tune that leads to mental peace. So this could be one definition. And Dhamma can also mean the teachings of the Buddha, right? So this is another kind of definition. So there are many kinds of Dhamma. Dhamma can also mean phenomenon, things happening, right? Like sunrises, sunset. So all these are phenomenon. But it may not be spiritually related. So in the case we are talking about spiritual related kind of dhammas, right, relating to mental conduct. So one of the sutta example, the more common ones will be the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the Satipatthana Sutta, where the Buddha talked about the 4th foundation of mindfulness, which is mindfulness of Dhamma. Mindfulness of Dhamma, Dhammanusati. Dhammanusati. So again, with the different meanings, right? Dhammanusati can mean one of the 6 recollections, right? Mindful of the 6 qualities of the Dhamma, which is different from the 4 foundation of mindfulness. And if you want to talk about this definition of Dhamma, can mean many things, like the 5 hindrances, the 5 aggregates or 6 sense bases, 4 noble truths. All these can be phenomenon, can be dhammas, right? So at least this is the sutta's definition. All right. So of course, if you want to talk about abhidhamma, there's even more, right? We talk about kusala dhamma, akusala dhamma. We chant this in the funeral chants, so many kinds of dhammas. All right. All right. So hopefully that answers your question. If our intention is wholesome, there's a question, right? If our intention is wholesome, but action is unwholesome, like you tell lies with intention, saving someone's life, how will the karma be? Oh, okay, this is a tricky question, tricky question. I would say this is case by case basis, case by case basis. And because as a monk, I'm not supposed to encourage people to tell lies. Right? I'm not encouraging people to tell lies, but in life it's very complicated. There's so many moral gray areas, So sometimes it has got to do with life experience. I'm not there to judge how pure, how good are these circumstances, but they are Jataka tales and stories of the Buddha, where he tried to practice this perfection of this truth, Satcha Parami, right? Telling of truth, being truth, and also practicing this wisdom. So there's a case where he was a hermit in one of his past lives. So there's a group of bandits, probably like in those olden days, a very big organization of a mafia. So one of or a few of them managed to rob a bank and escape, right? So they ran across this hermit, right? This bodhisattva ran across him, and soon after, a bunch of soldiers came by. So this bodhisattva knew that these soldiers will definitely ask him, "No, do you see a bunch of robbers running past this way?" And if he were to answer the truth, he will get into trouble, right? The sort of the mafia will get him. But if he tell a lie, then he's not practicing this truthfulness. So according to the story, what he did was he turned another direction. He faced the opposite direction. And when he's being asked by these the soldiers, have you seen a bunch of these mafia robbers running by this way? So in order to avoid both scenarios, he told the soldiers, at this current direction I'm facing, I did not see anybody run past me. All right, so this is how he got away with both problems. So I do not know in the modern case, some people want to be law-abiding, want to help the justice system, want to help catch the criminals. So again, it's the moral aspect is we have different perspective. Everyone has different perspectives to it. So I won't tell you what or what not to do, but ideally, if you can have the best of both worlds, that means if you're able to benefit yourself and others, then that will be the best road of action to take. If you can only benefit yourself and harm others, then if you can avoid this option, please avoid. If it benefits others and harms yourself, also, if there's a way to avoid, then you avoid. But if it harms both yourself and others, definitely don't do it. Don't do it. Right? So we try to find the best win-win situation for yourself and others. Right? So hopefully I answer your question, Wai Hong. Yeah. And there's another question. The Dhamma phenomenon that is cognized by the mind within oneself. Is this where one should investigate the formation of karma? Thank you, Bante. Wow, this is a very deep question. How to see the mind within? Okay, so last week we actually did an experiment, right? Basically, it's to investigate this mental formation or this karmic formation. Every moment there are thoughts being formed. We actually do this in one of our meditation exercises. For those who attended the other sessions, the longer sessions, the 1.5 hour meditation sessions where I break up into various phases. So only when the mind is more calm and concentrated, where then you can able to detect the formations of the mind, the movements of the mind. But if you want to try now, it's also, maybe some of you might be able to track the mind. So we can do this short experiment. We can raise our finger. Come, let's raise our finger. Right, so this is, we are not doing the Saturday night fever. We are actually now trying to point, where is your attention now? So if you're looking at the screen, your attention is to the screen, right? You can point the screen, but if your attention is maybe to the hearing, you can point it here. So where is your attention now? Is it always up there? Yeah, is your attention always there? No, where are you pointing? Every second, where is your attention now? So Anjeev is doing something good, yeah? Great work, tracking your mind. So this is not trying to prove that we have attention deficit disorder. All of us have this phenomenon. Is in Buddhism, sabbe sankhara anicca. All mental formations are impermanent, right? So all these formations are karma. So in this state of mind, when it's moving, there are various degrees of consciousness. In Abhidhamma, they classify into altitude. Although we talk about 6 sense bases, the attention can travel through the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, right? So they can travel around through the senses. And this consciousness has various altitude, various qualities, varying spectrum of qualities. You can see something angrily, which is a very low spectrum of this state of mind, or you can see something with loving kindness, a higher spectrum of frequency. So there are very different spectrums of consciousness. So I know there's a person, if let's say a person reach enlightenment, they have a different kind of consciousness. So when they see things, it's different. And if a person is a meditator or non-meditator, no, they see and perceive things differently. So this is karmic formation. So hopefully that answers your question.
Bante, there's two questions from Facebook.
All right.
Let me read now. Hold on. It's not from the same person, Brother Hai. How do we manage our proximate karma at the moment of death so as to obtain a good rebirth? How can mindfulness help to guide us to have good thoughts at the moment of death?
Yeah, very good question. Similar to the one last week also being asked, because this death proximate karma is so uncertain because the way of death is very uncertain. Right? How we die is so uncertain that we can't perceive the future unless you have some special abilities to predict the future. If not, we won't know how are we going to die. But death is certain. No, that certainly will die. So there's this death proximate karma. So if a person were to totally rely on the death proximate karma for good rebirth, then it's a very, very dangerous gamble. Very, very dangerous gamble, like from our experiment. No, the thoughts is running all over the place. And the quality of thoughts, no, can be good thoughts, bad thoughts. There's no control. We have no control. But generally, we have other kinds of habitual karmas. Other kinds of habitual karmas. Like if a person does lots and lots of good deeds, like the Buddha gave an example, it's like throwing a stick. Imagine you have a stick, a long stick. So one end is heavy and one end is light. So you throw up in the air. What are the chances of the heavy side landing to the ground first? Higher chance, right? Higher chance. But that doesn't mean you won't garner the lighter side, right? So this is very unpredictable. So if a person does lots and lots of good and heavy karmas, then chances, no, it will be a good rebirth. That's a chance only. Good chances you have a good rebirth. But again, like the last week we talked about the Queen Malika's case, she done lots and lots of good deed during the Buddha's time, does a lot of charity and generosity. But at the moment of death, somehow she entertained a negative thought. And then she born in hell, reborn in hell for 7 days. But because of her good deeds, right, is able to extinguish the negative karma and she's able to reborn in heaven after the 7th day. So this is the good and bad karma. So again, if you want to talk about ensuring a good birth, do lots of good deeds, we have these 10 meritorious actions mentioned in the lecture earlier or in the discussion earlier. So try to do these 10 meritorious deeds as much as possible, as frequent as possible. It's not about once a week, visit maybe some charity center to do some good deeds and that's it. So what are you doing with the rest of your life 24/7? Right? Because every moment we are creating karmas. Every moment the mind is creating karmas all the time. So what are we creating? Right? So that's where meditation comes in. We're actually learning to self-generate positive or wholesome thoughts every moment. And wisdom. Right? It's a form of training. Right? So hopefully that will help. It's just like nowadays people talk about passive income. They don't want to work and they want to get rich, right? So karma is the same. You want to be have this passive good karma generate all the time. So you need to have certain discipline to practice generating these good karmas. Yes, 24 hours every moment. Yes, that's right. Except sleeping time. So there's a discount. As long as you are awake, you're mindful and awake, then you should generate good thoughts. So that again is part of the right mindfulness practice. So if you read the Satipatthana Sutta, it's mindfulness of impermanence, rising and passing away at every given foundation of mindfulness. So hopefully that answers the question. So is there another question?
Yes, Bante. There's one question from Chui Wai King. Bante, are people of other religions also subjected to the law of karma?
Okay, very good question, right? So, okay, there's this interesting thing, right? There's so many kinds of belief systems, right? The Buddha mentioned in even in the first discourse of this Brahmajala Sutta. There's so many net of views, so many religious views. Some people believe there are rebirth or reincarnation, some don't. Some believe in karma, some don't. Some believe in the eternal, the life after life is total suffering. Some believe is total happiness. Whatever you believe, whatever we believe, as long as we still have greed and we still suffer, then that is a wrong view. That means the view is just a label. It's still not yet pure yet, right? So again, whatever other people believe and whether it has effect or no effect, what is your state of mind? That is the main key point. That is the main key point. Now, what is your frame of mind? Now, is your mind at peace or is your mind still suffering? Trying to look up, is other people suffering from good or bad karma? Right? The whole idea is you yourself, right? Or we ourselves. Is the mind happy or is it sad or angry? So you have to take that into consideration. All right. So hopefully that answers the question.
I think Hui Wen has a question.
All right.
Yes. One thing I'd like to ask is there a difference like between like you actively trying to have kind thoughts versus like you maybe you were having kind thoughts without realizing it, and then is there like a difference to the cultivation of the mind? Like maybe for example, like you see someone at the door, and then maybe like the immediate like person A, maybe the immediate reaction is to hold the door for a person, versus like person B, like still have to think a bit, then like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do a good deed. Then supposed to be kind and open the door, right? Yeah, is there a difference?
Oh yes, there's a difference. So if a person has already this habit, we call this the habitual karmas, right? So probably in the past, right, it could be this life in the past when they were younger, or even past life, they might have cultivated certain form of kindness or thoughtfulness, and that's why it manifests itself very naturally, right? For the second case, they might need to put in effort. So of course, everybody has to start from somewhere. So yeah, we should encourage them to generate more of this kindness. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no problem. Okay, so any other questions?
I have a highlight or comment on something, but
Okay.
not so related to karma.
All right.
It's about something that you said about the Sama Sambuddha, right?
Mhm.
When after he reached enlightenment, and then you said that he's almost become a Paceka Buddha. It's only because of Brahma Sampati asked him to teach.
Yeah.
Then he did that, right? To me, in my opinion, Bante, it doesn't make sense, Why? Because to become a Sama Sambuddha is a very, very big effort, or very, very long time. Cultivating is so much, from life to life. For us and Kaya, so long life. And then like a person who is granted a professorship, then he said that, oh, now I don't want to teach, because his aspiration is to teach the Dhamma because of so huge compassion, right?
Mhm.
He's gone through all the way until the end, but at the end, he say, no, I give up. I don't want to teach.
Mhm.
It doesn't make sense, Bante. My opinion, Bante.
Okay, yeah, very good point.
Yeah.
Mm.
What I think, this is a tradition. What I think, Bante, it happened to all Sama Sambuddha, because for a Sama Sambuddha to teach, he must be requested. It's like a courtesy. It's like a courtesy. Yeah. You need, that's why I think Brahma Sambhati knows about this. Then he wait for the time. Then he asked for Sama Sambuddha to teach. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. All his effort from the beginning till the end goes to nothing,
Yeah, that could be one way of viewing it. But even in the scripture, it is mentioned that the Buddha himself, after attaining enlightenment, he finds that there are beings with dust in their eyes. Then he finds it very tiring, to teach them. Right? It's they might not understand. It's too profound. That's why he decided to lay back and just pass away peacefully with this state of enlightenment.
But what is the concern of let's say 45 years teaching comparing for many asankayas, many kalpas of cultivating to become a Sama Sambuddha? 45 years of teaching is actually nothing. Do you agree with that, Bante?
Yeah, time is actually very relative. Yeah, time is relative, especially if we want to talk about theoretically. If we believe we've been through many infinite, almost near infinite past lives, right? So again, time is very relative to us. It's just a blink of an eye. It's just like one microsecond. Some people experience 1 hour as though as an eternity. If they're suffering. Some people find that a few seconds is very short. So it depends on the state of mind. So time is a kind of perception. So of course, things change. Like it's just like when we were young, we might have certain aspiration, or we want to have a certain dream job in future. But as we grow bigger, things change, right? So probably same with our Buddha. Initially he wants to find as a prince. He wants to find the sort of end of suffering, how to overcome suffering, and along the way, then he found out, he struggled, for 6 years, about to die. Then he can find the truth, right? So how is it possible for the rest of the people to understand this, right? So it is only after the persuasion or invitation of Brahma Sampati, right, this deity. Then he have to relook again and reconsider his request and re-strategize the way he teaches to make it more accessible. Yeah.
Okay, if you put it in the short view. However, I think this tradition is also becomes a tradition of monkhood. Whenever you want to ask the monk, sangha to teach, we also must request. I think this become a tradition.
Yeah, some temples they want to follow this ritual. They recited this the verses of Brahma Sampati. How you invite the Buddha. Yeah.
Okay, Bante, it is just an opinion.
Okay, all right. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, good point. If you want to consider, let's say all the other guardian deities at play, then might be a bigger role. Yeah.
Okay, 2 more questions from Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
First one from JJ Tan. How do we build good relationship at work? If one work with a nasty people.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's a common question. Yeah. So again, in life, there are 2 kinds of dharmas, 2 kinds of ways of handling it. So the first is the secular method. Secular method would be physical means to improve this diplomacy. You can start off with a good dialogue, maybe buy the person coffee or treat them lunch, whatever it is, and have a good conversation. So this could be one of the method. So then the next one will be the spiritual method, which is the emotional way of coping, how to practice detachment. Like let's say if you join this meditation class, how to practice loving kindness and so on. So again, in actual scenario, the best way is to find the moderation in both. You cannot have, let's say, one extreme. I just practice emotional detachment. but physically you don't do anything, you don't do anything to improve the situation. So the other party will continue to abuse you and whatever not. So it doesn't really help. So there are circular means. So if let's say you try the reasonable kind of approach, no, you talk it over nicely, you treat the person with a meal or whatever it is, and they still do abuse you, even though, let's say, in an extreme scenario, you've done nothing wrong. So most probably that person is psychologically or emotionally unbalanced themselves. So this one requires other forms of action. Maybe you might call in a third party, maybe some counselor, or worst scenario, if it's very dangerous, maybe you call the police, whatever it is, right? So there are other circular avenues, right? So this is just my opinion, right? But if let's say they are just moderate, no, just unfriendliness, then you might try the moderation approach, right? Spiritually, you have thoughts of loving kindness, and physically, right, you treat the person nice as well. So this is the my advice.
Yeah, but they are ready or meta loving kindness is helpful. I will guess,
Okay, all right.
So another question, Monday, from the same person, Brother Hai. What is the main difference between the Buddhist concept of rebirth and the Hinduism concept of transmigrations or rebirth?
Oh yeah, so yeah, this is a very good question. I might cover it in the next lesson, right? So in the modern Theravada, they will include dependent origination into the rebirth to explain rebirth, right? Whereas let's say in other religions or the pre-Buddhist religions, they will just say reincarnation, right? So the Buddhists want to separate themselves and look it in terms of thought moments, using dependent origination to try to explain, right? Going from one life to next, right? So again, to me, there's not much difference, because what happened is it's still one life to the next, right? It's just two, no, there's two bodies involved, one dead body and a new body, right? So what happens is just the philosophical kind of, or the theological kind of different understanding, or different labels, different processes to describe, right? So yeah, that's about it.
Same. She have another question, Bante.
Yep.
Is tantric meditation sensual pleasure is used as the method to gain enlightenment? So is this against the Dhamma Vinaya?
Okay. I think there's probably lots of misunderstanding of this tantric, the kind of Buddhism. This is more of Mahayana Buddhism. So I'm not the right person to ask. You have to ask a Mahayana monk. These esoteric practices can be found in one segment of their Tripitaka. Just like in their sutras, they have the Pure Land Sutras, or they have the Prajna, the wisdom collection sutra. Then they have a collection on esoteric practices, right? So the Tantra is like the Tantric, whatever is part of it. So you have to ask a Mahayana monastic, because they read through their scriptures and they know their scriptures better. So I'm not in the position to comment. Yep.
No more questions.
But if you want to talk about conversion, right? Actually, what we are doing every moment, when we see the stimuli, with our eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind, right? Instead of reacting with sensual pleasure, right? We think of right thoughts, non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. So that itself is a form of transformation, converting desire, right, to spiritual energy. So this is my version of it. Yes, is there other questions, Eddie? Yeah.
No more question, Bante. But there's a request by this user, this person the name of the commoner. He said, "Hi MSBS, may you help to share with us on the list of suttas that Bante has spoken in this topic for karma in your Facebook post, so we can refer and self-read at our end. Thank you and sadhu, sadhu, sadhu." Yeah, this is
it's actually I've typed in the suttas in the PowerPoint slide. So as you view through the PowerPoint slides, you can actually see the suttas. You can actually Google them yourself. Yeah, the sutta number is there, and the name of the suttas is there as well. Right? Like all this, it's all there. Right, it's all mentioned. So when you read the suttas, you get the entire story. So what I shared is just one portion, one small portion of the sutta that's relevant for the talk. Yeah. So hopefully that helps you. Okay, so if there's no other questions, right? It's a very long session.
And
there's
I
an
want to
ending.
ask something, Ken.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
I'm still trying to digest. The old karma is the eye, the ear, the tongue. Why is it old karma? Because when we see things that stimuli, then you create new karma. So just now the one of the classification under old karma.
Yeah, correct.
Then it says it's the eye, the ear. I cannot relate.
Yeah, all the things we experience, the birth, aging, sickness, death, all the rising and falling that we experience, all the vicissitudes of life are experienced through these lenses, the 5 aggregates or the 6 senses. So all these are old karmas ripening. What you talk about creating new karma is the next step, is very fast. When we see something, we will tend to react. So we react with either greed, hatred, or delusion. Right, so this is the creation of new karmas. But if we are able to train ourselves to reduce this greed and hatred, right? So when we see things, we are able to let them pass. So we are trying not to generate the new karmas, right?
Okay, I get it now.
Okay, so
whatever we are feeling now is all old karma.
Yeah, everything we experience are ripening of old karmas.
We are not attracted to the new stimuli, then there's no new karma created.
Yeah, if we don't react in a greedy manner, yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay, Tadu, thank you.
Greed or aversion, either you want to get rid, destroy it, or you want to pull it, you want some more. Yeah, so these are the greed and hatred.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Bante, one more question, Bante.
Oh, one more. Okay. Never ending karma.
Yeah, from Brother Haing again. Is
Okay.
supporting fake monks bad karma, Bante?
Is what?
Is supporting fake monk, is that bad karma?
If a person intentionally, right, supports fake monks, then yes. If they know that they are bogus monks and they intentionally want to support them, then definitely they're creating negative karmas. Yeah. But if they do not know they are bogus, but out of goodwill, the intention is positive. They see they are monastics, maybe they dress in robes, they have lots of faith, they do it out of good intention, then that's good karma on their part. So what happens is the bogus monastic or the fake monastic will create lots of negative karma, right? Just like any con person, yeah.
They talk about this fake monk here. Because I have used to have a fake monk here in the market near my house here.
Okay.
So every time when I go to market, and then if I saw this fake monk standing there, so in my mind I will keep on saying, this is a fake monk. So I would say that, is it I have a bad thought, that time, or should I not think of that, or so if I keep on saying that, this is fake monk, so is it in my mind some sort of creating bad karma, or have a bad thought,
One good way is to check, because sometimes authentic monks commit offenses as well, right? Real monks may commit offenses. So one good way is to check with that monk personally. When asked, where is your ordination, no? Or who's your preceptor, something like that, no? Where did you ordain, right? So what kind of alms do you need, right? So if they are practicing the correct kind of alms round, if they are the Theravada tradition, no, they should be collecting food or other requisites, like the stationery or toiletries in the morning time, right? In the morning time, before noon. Right? So this is the appropriate timing. So in Singapore, interestingly, the news articles do come up such statements, about if they are bogus monks, they I think the Singapore Buddhist Federation encourage the public to call the police. I'm not sure in Malaysia how it works. Yeah.
Bante,
Yeah.
Bante,
Yes.
I would like to confirm with you.
Yeah.
As a practicing Buddhist, we always talk about wholesome deeds.
Yeah.
Can we say as a Buddhist, the most wholesome activity is to practice meditation, which will bring the greatest karmic results in the future?
Yeah, that would be part of the non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. It's also part of the 10 meritorious deeds. Yes, correct. So when we are meditating, we're actually reducing the 3. So when we talk about non-greed, we're practicing these many kinds of meditations which reduce greed, like the impurities of the body, or like for our case, we talk about impermanence or the birth and death. And the non-greed, non-hatred would be like loving kindness, compassion, and so on. And non-delusion, right? Mainly impermanence and whole lots of other kind of reflections like suffering, non-self, emptiness, and so on. Yeah. Right, so it's part of meditation. It's a holistic package. A person cannot just say, "I'm going to sit here the whole day and just meditate." Right? I don't want to do any good deeds. I don't want to go out, and I don't want to help anybody. I don't want to interact with anybody. No, it's impossible, because we still have to go through our daily lives. And when we do come across various situations, if our mind is really practicing correctly, then we will act compassionately. Yeah. All right, so hopefully that answers the question. Oh yes, another question from Huiwen. Yeah.
Sorry, Bante, if this question is like very obvious or what. But because the first few slides, right, is talking about the secular karma, is there any things we can do to increase our karma to continue to learn the Dhamma in the next lifetime?
Yeah, basically, if a person has interest in learning, so that is creating karma. So the one thing to learn, that is actually generating this new karma.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, hopefully that's the precedence for the future. Yeah, don't need to talk about next slide. It's just a habit. Yeah, it's a habit. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Bante, regarding Huiwen's question, going on from there,
Yeah.
I have friends who practice making aspirations to continue learning the Dhamma in future lives. Is this a wholesome thing, and is it effective?
Yeah, sometimes it's part of our chant also. Yeah, some places they do have this in the chants, and they're chanting, especially the dedication and aspiration part. It's more like a good kind of insurance. If a person don't make it in this life, then the next life they hopefully they reborn in good conditions to learn the Dhamma. So like one of the previous sessions, we talk about how difficult it is to be reborn as a human, and the chances of the mythical turtle coming out to breathe every 100 years, and imagine the head poking out of the ocean and going right through a hula hoop, a random hula hoop floating around in the ocean. So that's the chance, so rare to be reborn as a human. And if I'm not wrong, I heard from somewhere another example, to be able to meet a good teacher, a religious teacher, and guide you in the path of spirituality is like a bird dropping a mustard seed. Imagine a bird flying somewhere carrying a mustard seed in the mouth or in the feet. trying to bring back to its nest and accidentally drop it. And imagine you hold a needle somewhere on earth, somewhere, can be anywhere on earth. And imagine that mustard seed drop right through the pin of the needle. So what are the chances? Now I'm sheltered. There's no bird droppings. Right, so it's so rare. So it's good to make the aspiration. So there's this thing called the birds of the same feather flock together. Right, so if you have the habitual tendency to want to find out the truth, so even if you're born in some remote area or in some country where it's like total different beliefs, or is a very secular, doesn't believe in any form of spirituality or religion, you are interested. You might chance across something someday out of the curiosity due to the momentum accumulated from the past. You're so interested, then you want to find out more. So that's how it all begins. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Further to that question, can we determine next life we were born as a male or female again?
Pardon, what's the question?
Can we make aspirations or to determine next life we born as a male again or as a female again? Can we do that kind of aspiration?
Might be possible. It's got to do with intention, because if let's say we are used to our own gender, we are actually creating karmas. We're actually clinging to certain habits, right? In the Tibetan tradition, if I'm not wrong, they believe in the intermediate state, the bardo. It's also slightly mentioned in our Theravada Suttas, how a being is born. During birth, you need condition 1, right? Both the parents must be, having their intercourse, and number 2, the right season when the female is, maybe ovulating or whatever it is. And the third criteria, a Gandhabba has to be present. An unseen being has to be present, right? So imagine you're being watched when you're doing something intimate, right? So, okay, the unseen being is talking about this intermediate state, right? In the Tibetan tradition, they call it the bardo. So according to them, if that intermediate state is attracted to the female, that means they are male, they are male tendency. Chances when they are conceived, their gender is male. And if they're attracted to the male, then that means they're female. Then chances they are, when they are conceived, right, during conception, then they become female, something like that. So this is just from my brief understanding. Yeah. But of course, in Theravada, it's not mentioned the duration and all these processes. Yeah.
Bhante,
yeah.
For human, the rebirth is so difficult. But how about the heavenly world?
Oh yeah, heavenly worlds. Depending on which realm, because some realms require certain skill to be reborn there. Like certain Brahma worlds, you need certain level of concentration to be reborn there. So imagine if a person don't do any form of contemplation or meditation, very hard to, it's like not an option for them. Yeah.
But is it more difficult than the blind turtle, or is it easier?
As a what turtle?
The blind turtle, the simile of the blind turtle, poking the head through the yoke, and to reborn as human and reborn as heavenly beings.
Yeah, because it's not being, the simile not being mentioned, so chances probably are either same or lesser, yeah. Even harder. Yeah.
Bhante, the turtle story, I was told that actually it is not applicable to everyone. It's just because of if you are actually born in the hell, then the turtle story might apply. So so if you born as a human realm, I think that turtle story might not be.
Yeah, because sometimes when we are sort of privileged and well-to-do, we might not be able to appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to just statistically, compare with all the other sort of living organisms, like all the insects on Earth and all the, all the animals and whatever species, then yeah, might be quite close. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. All right. So other questions? There's indefinite karma all the way to the end of the session. Right? If no questions, then our break is so short. Okay, 5 minutes now, 5 minutes until 9:50. Then we have a short 10-minute meditation. All right. So I'll see you all back again for the
Right.
guided meditation. Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Yeah. So welcome back to the guided meditation. Actually, not much of meditation, it's just 10 minutes. So 10 minutes, not much of karma, yeah? Okay, so find, for those who are present and ready, you can find a comfortable sitting position. Okay, and once we are ready, relax our whole body. Make sure the back is upright. And we are going to do a short body sweeping, right? Body scanning from head to toe. Make sure our mind is at peace with the sensations. So whatever we feel, right, from our head down, all the sensations that are sort of ripening, we perceive it as all karmas ripening. It could be pleasant experience, which are considered good karmas ripening, or unpleasant or painful sensations. These are bad karmas ripening. So when we react to these, let's say, painful or unpleasant sensations, and when we struggle with them, that is creating new karmas, creating more suffering. But if we apply a right thought, right, create this merit and expanding this pool of karma, then we try to train the immeasurables. We wish all the sensations well and happy. So you can compare the difference when you first start to feel the body, right, your entire body from head to toe, without this positive thought or positive aspiration. What is the state of mind? Is it grumbling and complaining or unhappy, dissatisfied with the body? And if you transform that thought into a positive one, start to wish all the sensations well and happy, and extend further and wish all beings well and happy. And thus the unhappiness of the body go away. So we maintain the thought, right? Wishing every time there's a change in sensation, we wish all these sensations well and happy, and also wish all beings well and happy. So it's actually training thoughts of non-hatred, which is a meritorious kind of deed. and to practice thoughts of non-delusion and non-greed, then we observe all these sensations that arise are subject to passing away. They come and go. They don't hang around for long. Sometimes they hang around because we cling to them or we try to react or fight with them. Yeah? We just treat them as passerby, and we are just like something like a doorman. Just greet them with a smile. And if you experience unpleasant sensations, we wish all these sensations be free from suffering. And may all beings too be free from suffering. I have thoughts of compassion. And if you feel that the mind is peaceful and happy and contented, then you make another aspiration, right? May all beings not be separated from all the goodness they have accumulated. We rejoice in all their goodness. And if your mind is calmer, then we can wish may all beings have this equanimity. Right? All beings are subject to this birth and death, and they're subjected to their karmas, all good and bad karmas, including ourselves. And may we accept whatever outcome and be at peace with all the good and bad that is ripening. So we try to maintain this boundless, immeasurable state of mind as possible. It's a form of training. Right? We're trying to generate as much pure water, right? This wholesome karma as possible. If you can make an ocean out of it, then that's wonderful. So before we conclude, just another gentle reminder from the Karaniya Metta Sutta, the teachings on loving kindness. Right, one of the verse mentioned, if a person were to maintain this boundless loving kindness, be it standing, sitting, walking, or lying down, then this is the most sublime state and the most sublime conduct, highest conduct. So with that in mind, then we can formally end the meditation, right? Physically, right? We can open our eyes, but mentally, it's still meditation, mindful of this loving kindness, mindful of right thoughts. That means we're still mindful of generating these wholesome karmas. All right, so that concludes the meditation, very short meditation for today. And any announcements from Terence?
Bante, one more question from Facebook, okay?
Oh,
Bante?
okay. It's
One more
a
question
subsequent karma, yeah? Can bring
Yeah,
over to the next episode. Okay, yes.
One more question from Tam Wing Sun. Bante, if birth as a human is rare, why is the world populations increasing year after year?
Okay, yeah, this is because the Buddha is looking at the entire samsara, right? He's comparing with the statistics, the proportion. So that's why it's very rare. So if you want to talk about just the humans alone, then sometimes we aren't able to perceive the unseen beings, right? So earlier on we talked about even comparing with the physical seen life forms, right? The humans already comparatively not that many already. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Bhante, shall we
Yes.
dedicate the merits?
Okay. So now we are going to dedicate the merits, right, and to the sentient beings and also the guardian unseen beings. Okay. Anumodana. Akasatha cha bhumata devanaga mahidika punyang tang anumoditva chirang rakhantu loka sasanang etavata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva sabbe bhuta sabbe sata anumodantu Sabba Sampati Siddhya. Transference of merits to departed. Idang me nyatinang hotu, sukhita hontu nyadayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu, sukhita hontu nyadayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu, sukhita hontu nyadayo. Aspiration. Imina punya kamena ame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yavani bana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, Bhante.
All right.
So a gentle reminder, do join us again next week on the 3rd of November. So as you can see from the slide, 21st and 22nd, if possible, do mark your calendar and join us then for the longer meditation retreat. So we have better karma.
Okay, all right.
So, another thing is, if you all want to view the past session with Bhante, it's uploaded to the YouTube. It's easy for you to reference, for easy reference. You can just type tinyurl.com/MSBS-YTC YouTube channel. Okay, see you all next week. Good night,
Okay,
Bhante.
all right.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you,
Sadhu,
Terence.
sadhu,
Thank you,
sadhu.
everyone.
Good night.
Okay, good night.
Night.
Thank you, Bante. Good night.
Okay, good night.